Ambition often arrives like a loud drumbeat in the chest, demanding attention and action. This feeling pushes people toward projects, promotions, and mountains they once thought unreachable. Every generation writes new stories about wanting more, and those stories shape how societies work and how individuals measure themselves. In the first moments of this video, we will investigate that drumbeat, its origins, and the philosophical questions it raises about value and purpose. We will ask whether ambition is a virtue or a vice, and how to practice it without losing yourself. Philosophers have argued about ambition for millennia, and their disagreements tell us about human values. Some thinkers praise active striving as essential to flourishing, while others warn that unchecked desire corrodes character. When we study ancient texts alongside modern psychology, we discover patterns about what motivates people and why certain ambitions endure. This scene will introduce those patterns and set the stage for deeper inquiry into healthy and unhealthy striving. What do philosophers mean when they use the word ambition, and why does that matter today? Ambition is not merely wanting more things or status, but a directed energy toward a future self and a future world. It contains intention, imagination, and often a narrative about who we want to become and why that becoming matters. In this segment, we will define ambition as a dynamic orientation toward valued ends and explore the mental architecture that sustains it. Not all ambition looks the same, and the difference matters for moral and practical outcomes. Healthy ambition aligns desire with reason, community, and sustainable practices, rather than short-term gains at any cost. Unhealthy ambition isolates, justifies harm, and erodes relationships while masking emptiness beneath achievement. Here we will contrast these forms with vivid examples and explore markers that help you distinguish between them in real life. Consider the entrepreneur who builds an industry from nothing and changes millions of lives through innovation. In parallel, consider the executive who climbs at the expense of colleagues, leaving a trail of damaged trust and compromised values. Both figures possess drive, but their outcomes differ because of motivation, method, and context. This scene will show how motivation and means shape whether ambition becomes constructive or destructive. Philosophers worry that ambition might create hollow victories if they are not anchored to deeper meaning. Achieving a goal can feel empty when it is merely a checklist item rather than an expression of value. The pursuit itself can become an addiction that postpones contentment indefinitely. We will explore the relationship between ambition and meaning to understand when accomplishment truly satisfies the self. Aristotle spoke of eudaimonia, which links human flourishing to virtuous activity and purposeful ends. For him, ambition had to be ordered to rational virtues and the good life, or else it becomes mere appetite without form. This ancient idea suggests that flourishing requires both desire and wisdom, a marriage of drive and deliberation. In this scene, we will unpack how Aristotelian virtue ethics reframes ambition as a practice within a moral ecology. The Stoics offered a different but complementary perspective on striving and acceptance in human life. They asked how to pursue what is within your control while releasing attachment to external results that you cannot govern. Stoic thinkers encourage disciplined practice, inner freedom, and steady pursuit without being crushed by outcomes. This section will explore Stoic techniques for aligning ambition with resilience and tranquility. Seneca wrote that we should aim for excellence while accepting fortune and misfortune alike. This teaching helps ambitious people maintain composure when outcomes fluctuate and maintain perspective when success arrives suddenly. It also implies that ambition can be a virtue when tempered by the right mental habits and ethical guardrails. We will examine practical Stoic practices that transform restless striving into calm progress. Modern psychology adds nuance by describing motivation as intertwined with identity, competence, and autonomy. Self-determination theory shows that people flourish when ambition grows from intrinsic motivation rather than external pressure alone. This scientific lens explains why some ambitious people burn out while others sustain energy and joy over decades. In this scene, we will connect psychological findings to philosophical prescriptions for sustainable ambition. The concept of practical wisdom or phronesis is central to integrating ambition with ethical judgment. Practical wisdom helps determine which goals are worth pursuing and which sacrifices are disproportionate to potential gain. It is cultivated through experience, reflective practice, and honest feedback from others who care about your true flourishing. This scene will introduce methods for developing practical wisdom in everyday decisions and long-term planning. Balancing ambition with other values requires clear priorities and repeated trade-off assessments over time. Life is full of competing goods, such as family, health, and creative work that pull in different directions at different seasons. Ambition that becomes blind to these goods generates regret and relational fracture after the wind of success fades. Here we will provide frameworks to weigh trade-offs and keep goals aligned with core values. One practical strategy is to set nested goals that support a broader life narrative rather than isolated conquests. Nested goals embed professional aims within a context of relationships, health practices, and moral commitments that sustain long-term meaning. By structuring ambition this way, progress in one area reinforces progress in others and reduces the tendency for zero-sum thinking. This scene will outline how to design nested goals that create coherence across decades of life. Another habit for wise ambition is regular reflection, where you interrogate motives and outcomes with brutal honesty. Reflection rituals might include journaling, talking with trusted friends, or periodic sabbaticals that reveal whether your path still aligns with your inner values. These pauses help you avoid escalating commitment to the wrong projects simply because of sunk costs and pride. In this part, we will offer specific reflection prompts and timing recommendations for busy lives. Ambition without empathy tends to become competitive and corrosive in collective environments and communities. When leaders prioritize ego over systems, they fracture trust and reduce collective capacity to achieve large-scale goals. Empathy and humility are therefore functional virtues for ambitious people who want sustainable influence and legacy. This scene will discuss how cultivating empathy aligns personal drive with collective flourishing and long-term impact. There is also a moral argument that ambition should be guided by the good of others, rather than purely private gain. Ambitious projects that produce public goods create durable satisfaction and avoid the hollowness of private accumulation. When ambition seeks to improve the human condition, it draws on a deeper source of meaning and becomes more ethically defensible. Here we will explore examples of socially oriented ambition that created lasting benefits. Ambition can become generative when it is blended with curiosity and play rather than rigid seriousness alone. Curiosity opens creative pathways, invites experimentation, and reduces fear of failure in the pursuit of difficult goals. Playfulness can also cultivate resilience by reframing setbacks as learning rather than existential threats. This scene will highlight stories of innovators who leveraged curiosity and play to turn ambitious visions into reality. Time horizon matters deeply for the ethics of ambition because compression amplifies shortcuts and compromises. Short-term incentives tend to reward risky behavior that produces immediate results but damages long-term possibility. Ambitious people who practice patient time horizons build generational value and avoid moral erosion caused by hurry. In this section, we will discuss techniques to lengthen perspective and cultivate patience as a strategic advantage. Failure is inevitable on ambitious paths, and how we relate to failure determines future capacity for achievement. Reframing failure as data and instruction rather than personal defect creates a mindset that encourages iteration and growth. This philosophical stance requires courage to face losses and humility to revise plans honestly. We will examine resilience narratives that transform failure into fuel for wiser ambition. Material success often masks existential deficits that ambition alone cannot resolve in a person or a society. People can achieve wealth and status while feeling acutely purposeless when their aims are misaligned with deeper values. Philosophical reflection helps expose those misalignments and suggests corrective action that restores coherence between inner life and outer achievements. This scene will probe the inner experience of accomplished people and the remedies they found meaningful. Practical wisdom also involves designing environments that support good ambition and discourage toxic incentives. Organizational cultures can reward integrity, learning, and cooperation through structures that align individual success with collective well-being. Incentive design, transparent feedback, and shared purpose reduce the friction between personal ambition and communal goods. This scene will give concrete examples of systems that amplify healthy striving at scale. Daily rituals matter more than rare grand gestures when it comes to sustainable ambition and deep meaning. Small practices like consistent sleep, focused work blocks, and intentional rest compound into long-term growth and prevent burnout. Rituals also create narrative continuity that keeps ambition tethered to identity and not just external outcomes. Here we will suggest specific rituals that ambitious people can adopt to balance drive and well-being. The social dimension of ambition includes mentorship, accountability, and communal reflection as essential supports. Trusted mentors provide perspective, accelerate learning, and warn against predictable moral traps experienced by predecessors. Accountability partners help prevent escalation of commitment to harmful paths and provide reality checks during euphoric highs. This segment will explain how to choose and nurture social relationships that strengthen wise ambition. Ambition has a political dimension because collective goals require leaders who combine vision with ethical constraint. Societies need ambitious projects like public health systems, scientific exploration, and infrastructure that require sustained common effort. But when political ambition becomes naked power-seeking, institutions crumble and trust evaporates rapidly. In this penultimate scene, we will examine the civic responsibilities of ambitious individuals and how democratic deliberation can channel large-scale drive for public good. In the final act, we return to the paradox of ambition. It can free people or imprison them, depending on how it is ordered. Wise ambition requires a constant reappraisal of ends, methods, and relationships so that drive serves a meaningful life rather than exhausting it. The modern relevance is clear because contemporary institutions amplify both the promise and peril of ambition in unprecedented ways. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe to continue exploring ideas that shape how we live and aim in the world.